What's going on, everybody? My name is Sam, and this is For the Boys Fantasy Football. For anyone that doesn't know, my friends and I have been in the same fantasy football league since high school, and I've been making these little power rankings videos, just ranking the teams in the league for a couple years now. It was requested that I take them public, so here we are. I'm just going to go ahead and get right into it. Starting at number 12, it's going to be Diego. Diego's 0-3, and he is cooked. There's just no other way to say it. He's cooked. When you look at the team, Tyreek Hill with Skylar Thompson at quarterback is a flex play at best. We saw it this week, and in 2022, when Tua went down with one of his many concussions that he's had, Tyreek Hill averaged about 11 points per game with Skylar Thompson. That's flex territory. I think he still should be in your lineup just because all it takes is one bubble screen and he could be in the end zone, but it's sad. It's sad because I really think Tyreek Hill is special talent. Devontae Adams with Gardner Minshew, I just think is going to be an up and down experience. I think when you've attached yourself to a quarterback like Gardner Minshew, it's going to be up and down. So he's going to have some boom weeks. He's going to have some weeks like this where it's 4 catches on 9 targets for 40 yards. Pretty inefficient, and that's just how it's going to be. Trey McBride's concussed. He'll be okay, I would imagine, for the long term, but he may be out next week. I talked about Michael Pittman. I don't like Michael Pittman. I think Anthony Richardson, everything that Michael Pittman needs to succeed is everything that Anthony Richardson can't do, and that's mainly be accurate on RPOs and in intermediate passing. I think DeAndre Swift might be the worst running back in football, and I'm not exaggerating. I really do believe that Diego himself could go into the Bears and do what DeAndre Swift is doing because the man's averaging 1.8 yards per carry. That is 37 carries for 68 yards. I mean, there's no way. I know the Bears' run blocking is bad, but there's no way. You should be averaging 2 yards a carry, man. That is brutally bad. I didn't like DeAndre Swift going into the season. I thought he was maybe a solid bench player, but now I think this guy's just unplayable. So Diego's team, just in a word, I just think Diego's cooked. He's 0-3, as mentioned, and there's just not much to love about this team. I'm sorry, Diego. There's not much I'm looking at here, and I feel like that there's just zero optimism. I think Diego's the one team in the league that I just think has zero chance to win the title. So that's Diego at 12. Your team makes me want to vomit, but that's okay. Diego loves nature. He's probably in the mountains right now. He's a big nature guy, so he doesn't need fantasy football. Coming in at number 11, we got Eric. Now, Eric is 2-1, so this ranking maybe is counterintuitive. However, Eric has the second lowest points against him in the league. Eric does have some things to like about his team. At the beginning of the year, I had Eric ranked pretty high. It's just some things have not panned out. We got Jonathan Taylor, had a breakout game this past week, and 23 carries, 110 yards, 2 touchdowns is something you love to see. He did lose a touchdown to Trey Sermon, unfortunately, which is just funny, but I don't think Trey Sermon is a real threat to JT. I think Garrett Wilson. Here's the thing about Aaron Rodgers. As a Packers fan, Aaron Rodgers is just somebody who takes a long time to get on the same page with young wide receivers. He has no patience for you if you mess up. If you run a route the wrong way, if you drop a pass, he's not going to throw it to you for the rest of the game. So I think Garrett Wilson will be fine. He scored a touchdown, so he got you 14 points this week. I think him and Aaron Rodgers are just going to take some time to just kind of get it going. Things I don't like about Eric's team. We got Khalil Shakir at the wide receiver 2. That's with Tank Dell on the bench, who has just struggled. I'm a big Tank Dell truther, but has not performed this year. Sam Laporta carded off with a low ankle sprain. Now, a low ankle sprain is much better than a high ankle sprain, and I'm not a doctor, so don't ask me why. But I do know when pass catchers get high ankle sprains, you're looking at 4 weeks plus a couple week ramp-up period. With a low ankle sprain, we'll see. I'm hoping maybe 1 to 2 weeks he's out, and then hopefully back to normal after that. And Jalen Hurts. I really like Jalen Hurts, but has anyone else noticed that he turns the ball over kind of a lot? He really does. It's really insane. has an interception and loses a fumble in this one. And I got to say, we'll talk about this more later, but I think the Eagles, there's a good chance they're 0-3 if it's not for Saquon Barkley at running back. Like I said, I'll touch on that more later. But, yeah, Jalen Hurts, I still like him as a fantasy quarterback. That's just a comment that I wanted to make. Now, Eric's running back 2 is J.K. Dobbins. I want to talk about this because Eric and I made a trade this past week. The trade was Eric receives J.K. Dobbins. I receive Amari Cooper, Zach Moss, Braylon Allen. So after 1 week, I won this trade. However, I still think J.K. Dobbins was possibly the pick of the draft. 18 touches this week. And the Steelers' defense is really good. That is a top 2 defense in the league, and they're probably not 2. Maybe Kansas City's up there. It's a toss-up. But so with that being said, I think J.K. Dobbins is a great RB2 for the rest of the season. But it does depend on Herbert's health. If Justin Herbert's going to be missing some time with, I think Justin Herbert has a high ankle sprain. Speaking of ankle sprains, if he's going to be missing some time, you downgrade J.K. Dobbins. But I think this trade can end up working out for both of us. Although I will say, like I said, I think I won week 1, but we'll see. I still think J.K. Dobbins has potential to be a really good RB2 for Eric. Coming in at number 10, it's going to be Eli. Now, because this is the first public video and we're in week 3, some of you may think number 10 is really bad for Eli, but actually he's been number 12 the last 2 weeks because it was looking pretty dire. Eli had Puka Nacua. He really did not draft a running back 2. Right now it's Chuba Hubbard. Brandon Ayuk's been struggling. Dalton Kincaid's been struggling. Bijan, to me, has not been producing the ceiling that I think he has. He's kind of been at his floor. But I think Andy Dalton might have saved Elijah's season because out of nowhere, Chuba Hubbard is a fantastic RB2. And then Eli's got Jonathan Brooks sitting on his bench. When Jonathan Brooks is full go in the Andy Dalton era of Carolina, this could be special. This could be a tandem that we're looking at 10 to 15 years from now. The Andy Dalton, Jonathan Brooks, Carolina Panthers as really, really special. So that's a big hole filled for Eli just by a quarterback change in Chuba Hubbard. And then I do like Jackson Smith, although it was a dud week. The Seahawks were up 17-3 after like 2 minutes. So to me, that's not a big deal that he didn't get much. Brandon Ayuk, I like Brandon Ayuk still, but it is on my radar. Brandon Ayuk spent the entire training camp not practicing. And he looks like a guy who hasn't practiced since last football season. I just think he's not on the same page with Brock Purdy right now. And that's probably just going to take some time. But 10 targets this week. As long as Debo, Kittle, and CMC are out, even with Jawan Jennings going off, Brandon Ayuk's still going to go off. And then Dalton Kincaid, he gets home with a touchdown this week. It should be mentioned, this game was a blowout. Bills win 47-10 over the Jags. Jags are horrible. Dalton Kincaid was outsnapped by Dawson Knox in the first half when it was a real football game. So that's on my radar. Dalton Kincaid is in a timeshare with Dawson Knox, and I don't know that that's going away. But with the tight end landscape the way it is, I still think Dalton Kincaid is easily top 10 and has the potential to be that like top 5, top 4, top 3. So I don't hate it by any means. Looking at Eli's lineup, and let's not forget, Eli has 2 elite quarterbacks. There are teams in this league that need quarterback. So I do think Eli look to make a move. Trade one of these quarterbacks for some depth, maybe a receiver, maybe a running back. I don't know. But Eli is 2-1. He is definitely the luckiest team in the league. He has 249 points against. The next highest was Eric, who we just talked about, at 299. So Eli's way down. But this past week scores 125 points. And he's looking up. You get Puka Nacua back in this lineup, and it's not that bad. So good for Eli. He's been down in the dumps, but he's starting to look on the rise. Okay, coming in at number 9, it's going to be Michael. Michael is 0-3. However, Michael has the most points against him in the league. I would like to think his team is slightly better than 0-3. I think he will get a win this season. Travis Etienne, I've been hating on Travis Etienne all year. I tend to fade running backs that get you 300 plus touches in a season the next year. DJ Moore, I think he looks really off with Caleb, and he's kind of like I've never seen this from DJ Moore, but he's complaining a lot. There was a route. DJ Moore is supposed to be a clear out guy. He's running a post up top, and Odunze's coming on a wheel around, and DJ Moore just kind of jogs through it, and because of that, the corner in cover 4 does not go with him, stays with Rome Odunze, and it becomes an interception. Still a bad throw by Caleb, but if DJ Moore clears out correctly, it's probably not an interception. It's probably an incompletion. So, I don't know. DJ Moore is kind of weird. I would like to think they'll get on the same page. I still like DJ Moore as a fantasy asset. And then you're getting A.J. Brown back, so that's good. Zach Ertz. Listen, I just talked about the tight end landscape with Dalton Kincaid. Zach Ertz gets you five catches for 38 yards in this game. And you know what? In this season with tight ends, that's okay. We'll take that. And then we look at Worthy and Patrick Mahomes. I think the Chiefs just are not looking to throw the ball downfield right now. Like, if you watch Mahomes, every single play he's looking for the mesh routes, which are going across the middle of the field. And that's usually Rashee Rice and Travis Kelce, although it's really all been Rashee Rice these last couple weeks. And he's just not, to me, he's not looking downfield, which I think is it's just an organizational change that the Chiefs have made. They are content to win games by running the ball, throwing it short, and playing good defense. And it's boring because we love the Chiefs. You know, we love the Mahomes 50 touchdowns. And I thought Xavier Worthy might bring that out in Mahomes this year, and he still might. I mean, he's a rookie. It's his 3rd game. Give him time. But I do think the loss of Hollywood Brown does, I think Hollywood Brown would have just been another element to make this offense want to throw the ball downfield and be that closer to that Chiefs that we used to know. I just don't know that they're going to be that. And so, I mean, you look at Patrick Mahomes, he is the quarterback 13 right now. I don't know if quarterback 1 is in the cards, even though it sucks because before the season I said I thought this was a Patrick Mahomes legacy year, but they're not playing. The strategy's not there to do that. So. And then I've been really surprised by Austin Eckler. It's unfortunate because he, I believe, got a concussion. But, God, he looked explosive on Monday Night Football. Last year, he was dealing with a high ankle sprain, which, again, high ankle sprains are like the kiss of death. You just don't come back the same, at least that season. And, gosh, he looked explosive. He's breaking tackles. He's taking screens for 20-plus yards. So that's really encouraging. There's a chance Eckler's out next week with a concussion, but I think that was a good draft pick for Michael, and that was just somebody that I was not picking this season. I was staying away from Eckler, but good for Mike. So Michael's 0-3, but I have him ranked a little bit aggressively because there is positive regression that is bound to happen for Michael, and I don't think Michael is the worst team in the league, even though the standings might say otherwise. But you guys can let me know if you agree. So that's Michael at 9. Coming in at number 8, we got Neil, and this one pains me. Neil's 1-2. This was a team that I've loved all season, and I see the vision. I love the core. You've got Jamar Chase, Mike Evans, Brock Bowers, Rashee Rice. That is insane to me. That's your pass catcher core? That's crazy. I think Brock Bowers, again, in the tight end environment that we're in, Brock Bowers has every chance to finish as a top 5 tight end this year. I truly believe that. He's super talented. He's a focal point of the offense. And then you look at Jamar Chase finally breaks out, albeit against the Washington Commanders. We know that the Washington Commanders, if you have a receiver going against them, they will drop 30 points without fail. Rashee Rice is just, I spoke about Patrick Mahomes looking for these mesh over the middle routes. You know who runs all those? Rashee Rice. 12 catches on 14 targets, 110 yards and a touchdown. And then Mike Evans. Mike Evans was horrible, but we know that Patrick Surtain of the Denver Broncos is probably far and away by this point the best corner in football. He's now shut down every receiver that he's faced. And if you're playing the Denver Broncos and you have a receiver that's an X receiver that plays on the outside, he will be shadowed by Patrick Surtain, and he probably will get shut down. So I'm not worried about that. What does worry me about Neil's team, I kind of said this, there was no depth. Neil's running backs originally were Isaiah Pacheco and Rachaad White, and I said that was totally fine. I liked Pacheco, and I honestly liked Rachaad White, especially as a pass catcher. With these receivers, I thought that was just fine. Isaiah Pacheco's gone, and your backup running back is Javonte Williams, he's not good. He's better than DeAndre Swift, I'll give him that, but he's not good. 5 carries, 12 yards, 4 catches for 29, and a fumble lost. He's just not good. I'm sorry, not a good football player. And then Rachaad White. I think Rachaad White adds a lot of value as a pass catcher. I think he's more explosive than people give him credit for. I think he's a better runner than people give him credit for. However, he's just not very good in between the tackles, and that's running up the middle, because he's a small guy. He's a very small guy, and the Buccaneers' interior O-line is still not very good. It was horrible last year. It's a little bit better this year, but I still think I like Rachaad White, but when your running back room is Javonte Williams or Rachaad White, you're not getting the production at quarterback. He's kind of been rotating Justin Herbert, Trevor Lawrence, and Derek Carr. And Derek Carr went off the first 2 weeks. Neil puts him in. He doesn't score 10 points. So that's fantasy football in a nutshell. Neil just has no depth. If you look at the bench, there's nothing to get excited about here. And that's a problem because Neil's got some injuries, and a big one with Isaiah Pacheco. And I just don't know how he's going to recover from that. I still love the core, but unfortunately, that's Neil at number 8. Coming in at number 7, we have, in my opinion, the unluckiest team in the league is Arthur, the Motion Men. He's 0-3, but he is 4th in points scored. He's 4th in points scored, and he's 0-3. 11th in points against, only has less than Michael. And I still think, I've said when Arthur had what looked to be Christian McCaffrey and Devon Achane in the running back room, I said that was the best running back room in the league. I still think it's probably top 3 with Devon Achane and Jordan Mason, but you downgrade Achane a little bit, although of Tyreek, Waddle, and Achane, I'd way rather have Achane than either of the other two because it's just easier to get him the ball. So it's still a good running back room, just not quite as good. But you get Chris Olave with a touchdown. I've said multiple times, Chris Olave just is allergic to the end zone, and I still kind of believe that, but gets home with a touchdown this game. I think he's talented, so hopefully that talent starts, transitioning to fantasy football points more. Steph Diggs. So the Vikings, here's the Vikings defense. They blitz you like crazy, and they play too high shell coverage, which means you have 2 safeties over the top. Your corners are all on man coverage. What that means is, when you're blitzing all your linebackers and your safeties are all back, the middle of the field's open, the intermediate, and that's where Stephon Diggs eats in this Texans offense. So when you face defenses like that, I do think Stephon Diggs is going to have good weeks. He was great this week, 10 catches on 12 targets for 94 yards. And then we get Dallas Goedert, 10 catches on 11 targets for 170 yards. He is a pass funnel when Devontae Smith and A.J. Brown are out. There's a chance Devontae Smith doesn't play this next week, and I'm not really sure what's up with A.J. Brown. We'll see. Hopefully he's back, but we don't know that for sure yet, as I'm filming on Tuesday. And listen, I've said it a bunch of times already in this episode. This tight end landscape's horrible. You could do worse than Dallas Goedert. So, and then Arthur should be getting Jordan Love back soon. Hopefully this week. As a Packers fan, I'm hoping this week. So I really do think there are things to like about Arthur's team. I think if the dice had rolled the other way, he could very easily be in the playoff conversation right now. And I don't think his season's over at 0-3. I think there's a lot of life here. So keep setting your lineup, Arthur. Keep believing. And hopefully the luck turns around for you, buddy. That's Arthur at number 7. Coming at number 6, we're going with Brandon, and we're getting into the teams that I think have the best chance to make the playoffs right now. Looking at Brandon's team, I like the team overall. 2 question marks. Running back depth, because your starting running backs are Joe Mixon and Aaron Jones, who I think are very talented, but are both pretty injury prone in their careers. So Joe Mixon was out with an ankle, and Raheem Mostert, who is your RB3, is also very injury prone. So who do you throw in? Trey Benson. 2 carries, 8 yards. That's not a startable player. And then Mark Andrews. I think the Ravens came into this game. Dallas Cowboys cannot stop the run. Their linebackers are tiny. They just can't stop the run. And the Ravens said, we're going to give the ball to Derrick Henry, and that's going to be about it. 36 carries or something like that. That may be wrong. I may have just made that number up. But a lot of carries for Derrick Henry this week. And on top of that, Isaiah Likely ran more. I believe Isaiah Likely ran 11 routes this week, and Mark Andrews ran 7. So even when you're getting the tight ends on the field, Isaiah Likely was out there more. So I don't know. Like I said, the tight ends are rough. So I don't think Mark Andrews is someone to drop right now, but I wouldn't call you crazy if you put him on your bench for a couple weeks and just ride this thing out. But we'll see. But things to like about Brandon's team. I thought Joe Burrow bounced back, at least for fantasy this past week. Their defense is so bad. The Bengals are so bad at they're the 26th ranked scoring defense, and they've played New England and Washington and Kansas City, who, by the way, is not scoring a ton of points this year. So the defense is horrible, which means Joe Burrow is going to have to chuck the rock this year if they have any chance at winning, which is good for Brandon's fantasy team. Drake London is really becoming the main guy for Kirk Cousins. I've been encouraged by what I've seen with him. We got 6 catches, 87 yards, and a touchdown in this game on 9 targets. And then, guys, Chris Godwin. This is somebody I hyped up after the draft. He is the wide receiver 3 right now, averaging 21.43 points a game. Chris Godwin is the wide receiver 3, and that makes my heart so happy for you, Brandon. Great draft pick. He's just balling. I mean, they put him back in the slot, and he's balling. He's really good from the slot. And then Brandon's number 1 pick, CeeDee Lamb. It was rough this past week, but you got to believe it could be similar to the Brandon Ayuk thing where CeeDee Lamb just was not around in training camp, and I think that means something. Like, it's not like CeeDee Lamb wasn't practicing and working out and getting better, but I think it means something to be around your team and with your guys and, running plays and all that. So, I like Brandon's team overall, 2-1. There are question marks, big question marks. But I do think these receivers are good enough to carry you. And then when your running backs are healthy, they're very solid. So if your team's all healthy, you got a very solid lineup, Brandon. So that's Brandon at number 6. Coming in at number 5, it's going to be Ray. Ray is sitting at 1 and 2. But I do think there has been some bad luck in there. Looking at Ray's team. Now, the major thing that stands out to me is Kenneth Walker has been out the last 2 weeks. You slide in Kenneth Walker instead of Quentin Johnston at your flex. The lineup looks much more complete to me. Tony Pollard and James Conner were both duds this past week, but 2 very negative game scripts. I still think these are 2 pretty solid running backs. Josh Allen's not human. Guy's a stud. I don't really know what to tell you there other than that. Justin Jefferson, he's also a stud. And you know who else is a stud? Sam Darnold. Kevin O'Connell is scheming that thing up. Minnesota is pretty legit. Okay, now you've taken out San Francisco and Houston back-to-back and made it look pretty easy in the process. I got to take you seriously. Packers play Minnesota this next Sunday. I'm really hoping Jordan Love plays, but Justin Jefferson, I had the 5th pick. Ray had the 4th. I was just praying that Ray would pass on Jefferson because maybe he didn't think Darnold was going to be good. And I had questions about that too, but I love Justin Jefferson, and he's just a stud. So, and then I still think I like George Pickens. I don't know if he's a great wide receiver too, but I still think there's a lot of potential there. Now, let's have a Travis Kelce discussion. Travis Kelce, he looks 34 years old. I think that's really the only way to put it. A lot of the routes, like the little options where he just kind of runs out, sits in the zone, turns around, and he's wide open, and then Mahomes rolls out. He rolls out that way, and Mahomes hits him. A lot of those routes that we associate with Travis Kelce, those are now going to Rashee Rice because he's just better at them now. He's younger. He's faster. He's got good hands. And Travis Kelce's kind of old. Now, I did see some explosiveness from Travis Kelce. I think really we could see like they get to the playoffs and all of a sudden Travis Kelce's not human again. But I suspect that they're just trying to save him. So I like Ray's team. I think Ray has a very solid team. I think right now you've got questions at tight end and flex, but the flex will be answered when Kenneth Walker's healthy. And listen, if you have a question mark at tight end, I'm not going to indict you for that because everybody has a question mark at tight end right now. So, I like Ray's team. I think Ray's got a solid team. I think 1 and 2 does not do his team justice. So that's Ray at number 5. Coming at number 4, we're starting to get into the teams. I really think top 3 is like their own tier, but I do think this 4th team in Isaiah does have a good shot at competing. Isaiah's 2-1. Listen, DK Metcalf in this Ryan Grubb offense. Ryan Grubb, offensive coordinator at Washington University last year, went to the national championship with Michael Penix, Rome Odunze, Jalen Polk, Jalen McMillan. DK Metcalf in this offense, it's fast-paced, it's run and gun, we're chucking the ball downfield. I love it, and DK Metcalf looks so good. He is just perfect for the scheme. He's so big, he's so fast, he's so strong. That's what you need. I mean, he is a 10 times steroid version of what Rome Odunze was last year. Because if you watch the film on Rome Odunze, it's a lot of contested catch, jump up, get the ball, running these crossers over the field, running the go ball down the sideline, and that's what DK Metcalf does so well. So I love that. That was another guy I was pretty high on going into the year. And then look at the running backs. Sorry, I said Derrick Henry had 36 carries. I don't know where I got that. He had 25. 25 carries for Derrick Henry. 151 yards, 2 touchdowns, and then he had a 23-yard reception. That looked like prime Derrick Henry to me. Just get the man the ball out in space, and he can make people miss. Or not really make people miss, he can run people over. And then James Cook. I think James Cook's ceiling has been unlocked because they're giving him the goal line stuff now. It used to be when they had... who was it? Latavius Murray. When Latavius Murray and Damian Harris were on the Bills, James Cook would get everything from the 20-yard line to the 20-yard line. And then when you're in the red zone on either side, he was out of the game because they didn't trust him to, I guess they didn't trust him to pass protect. They didn't trust him on the goal line. But now James Cook gets another inside the 5-yard line carry this week, goes for a touchdown. And I do think, Derrick Henry is game script dependent. However, in the 2 games that the Ravens lost to begin the year, he had 11 expected half PPR fantasy points, that's just based on usage, like how he was used. The model would expect him to get 11 half PPR fantasy points, and I think you can stomach that. The Ravens are going to be in a lot of positive game scripts where they're winning and running downhill, and I think Derrick Henry's going to be solid in those games because they're a good team. James Cook, like I said, I think James Cook right now is a top 10 running back. I'm going to rank my top 10 running backs in a couple teams here. He's on that list. And then we talked about Amon-Ra. Amon-Ra's just solid. I mean, he just, especially if Sam Laporta's dealing with an ankle sprain and he's out for a couple weeks, that just unlocks even more targets for Amon-Ra. So where I have question marks with this team, Hunter Henry at tight end. You have Evan Ingram. I don't know. The Jaguars are really bad, so I really don't know if he's going to replicate his tight end 2 season from a year ago. I actually don't hate Hunter Henry. Listen, the Patriots offense got stifled last week, but the 2 weeks before, Hunter Henry's usage was very solid. So, and then you've got T. Higgins at the flex. I think there's better games ahead for T. Higgins, but it's not my favorite play. But like I said, the Bengals defense is so bad. I think they're going to be losing some games this year, or at least they're going to be in shootouts. Like, that's the only way they're going to be able to win. So, when I look at this lineup, it feels very complete to me. We can talk about Anthony Richardson too. I've talked about this before. He just can't do the easy stuff. I think one of the keys to playing quarterback is hitting your check down, hitting the schemed up stuff, hitting the RPO slant the guy's coming across. You can show me all these fantastic 66-yard throws downfield, but when you're not doing the easy stuff, you're never going to get to those, and he doesn't have a changeup. He only throws a fastball, does not know how to put touch on the ball. He really does kind of remind me of, like, rookie Josh Allen. Like, that was rookie Josh Allen. You saw how special this guy could be, but he just was so erratic and so just out of sorts all the time that it kind of blocked him from showing that full potential. But we'll see. I think Anthony Richardson is going to have some boom weeks for sure. Just you see the floor. He has a floor, and it's really low, and that's where it is. So that's going to be Isaiah at number 4. Coming to number 3, we got the big boys. These are the teams that I'm really high on, really think have a chance to win it all. Starting off with number 3, it's going to be Liam. Liam's got probably the second best running back room in the league. I think he passes Arthur's, Achane, Jordan Mason, McCaffrey with the Tua Tagovailoa injury. You got Jahmyr Gibbs and Alvin Kamara. Love it. Don't need to say too much about that. I think Marvin and Kyler are just going to keep getting better as the year goes along. They play Washington this next week, and that's very scary because I'm playing Liam, and I don't want to face them against Washington. Terry McLaurin. How about a breakout for Terry McLaurin when the Commanders realized that you are actually allowed to throw the ball more than 3 yards down the field. That's not against the rules. And so I'm glad that somebody was able to clarify that for the Commanders, because the first 2 weeks of the season, every throw was a screen or an RPO to a running back. And so glad, because Jaden Daniels throws a great deep ball. He really does. If you watch his LSU tape, he was so good at throwing the deep ball down the sideline. And they finally tried that, and it worked. It worked on the sideline for the touchdown, and they went over the top of the middle for that big 50-yard gain, and that was awesome. So I'm happy for Terry McLaurin, because this is a guy that I've just thought was so good for so long. He's never had a quarterback. So, listen, you give me Kamara, Gibbs, Marvin Harrison. Devontae Smith is Liam's wide receiver too. Very solid, but he does have a concussion. I don't know if he's going to play next week, but it's probably a 1-week injury. He got popped. that was a walloping for Devontae Smith. And Liam started Isaiah Likely for some ungodly reason, but you got Jake Ferguson on your bench, who, as far as I'm concerned, is a set-it-and-forget-it tight end. 11 targets, 6 receptions for a clip of 15.5 fantasy points. That's really good. And I think Liam's depth is solid. I like Darnell Mooney. I think that's a solid flex play. Rico Dowdle, to me, is better than Zeke in the Cowboys offense. Brian Robinson, to me, is very solid, I think, in this Commanders offense, especially if Eckler's going to be banged up. And then I still have some hope for Calvin Ridley on the bench, but we'll see on that. So I think Liam's got a really just solid, well-rounded team at number 3. Now, coming at number 2, this is going to be Josh. Josh has been number 1 for the past couple weeks, and he's dropping to number 2. He is 3-0, undefeated, but he did not put up his best week, and I think you can credit a lot of that to injuries and lack of depth. I don't think Josh hit a single good bench draft pick, so that's tough, right? You got Keon Coleman on your bench, Zeke, Dobbs, Demarcus Robinson. None of these guys I'm getting too excited about. But what does Josh have that's really good? Just the best running back room in the entire league in Saquon Barkley and Kyron Williams. I want to talk about the running backs because I was thinking about this. I took Breece Hall at number 5. I think if I had to redo it today, I would take Saquon Barkley at number 5. He is my RB1. I'm going to go over my top 10 because this is just something I was thinking about this morning. I got Saquon at number 1. I still have Breece at number 2. I got Bijan at 3, CMC at 4, Gibbs at 5, Kyron at 6. So Josh has RB1 and RB6 in my mind, which is crazy. I've got Alvin Kamara at 7, which if you listened to my show before the season started, you would have thought that was crazy. And Devon Achane at 8. Devon Achane would be probably ahead of CMC at 4 if Tua was still healthy. He was balling. But I got JT at 9, and I got James Cook sneaking in at number 10. So, and then a couple of guys I have outside looking in: Derrick Henry, James Conner, David Montgomery, Jordan Mason, that kind of running back. But that's my top 10 running backs. I just wanted to go over that real quickly. So, Josh has 2 great running backs. You've got 1 great receiver in Nico Collins. Nico Collins is a stud. And then you've got Debo coming back next week. I like Debo as a wide receiver too. Or actually, I'm not 100% sure if Debo is coming back next week, but I think there's a good chance. And then I think there's also a good chance Njoku comes back next week, although it does say status unknown for week 4. But So once Josh gets those two guys back, his lineup looks pretty solid. I will say, man, Ramondre Stevenson put up a shitter in that flex spot. That's a tough one to swallow. I still think Ramondre Stevenson in regular games is going to get 20 plus touches a game. And so I don't think you panic on him yet. Like, don't try to trade him real quick. But, when I look at Josh's team, I think Josh has the best top-end talent with Saquon, Kyron, Nico, Debo. Like, that is probably the best 4 players that anybody has in the league. But the depth is just non-existent. Very non-existent. So that's Josh at number 2. It's my show, first public YouTube video. I had to put myself at number 1. I'm 3-0. I just put up 158 points this past week. I think next highest was like 125. I made this trade with Eric. I spoke about it earlier, and I think it's helped me out greatly because you look at my lineup. Originally, I would have told you after week 1, the strength of my team was Cooper Kupp and Jalen Waddle. Well, Cooper Kupp has a high ankle sprain. I don't know when he's coming back. Hope week 5. And Jalen Waddle does not have a quarterback anymore. So after that, I would have told you, man, my receivers sucked. But how about Malik freaking Neighbors, everybody? I am going to victory lap so hard on that pick. The guy's a generational talent. He reminds me of Jamar Chase. Like, everyone's comparing him to OBJ because it's a Giants receiver who's good, and, it makes sense. I get it. But he plays more like Jamar Chase because he is tough to bring down after the catch. And I'm going to show a clip of Malik Neighbors just rips a ball that should have been intercepted from a Cleveland Browns defensive back for a 28-yard gain, and then contorts his body, does a 360 in the end zone, gets the feet down for a touchdown. The guy is a special talent, okay? And this is what I've harped on in fantasy. Just grab the special talents, and you'll be fine. So my 2 receivers for this next week, Malik Neighbors and Amari Cooper, where that should be a weakness for me with my 2 best receiver picks. That was my Waddle was my second-round pick. Cooper Kupp was my 3rd. And then not having those guys in the lineup, it should have killed me, but it didn't because I nailed the Neighbors pick, and I made the trade with Eric that I think has helped me out. Looking at my running backs, Breece Hall. I want to talk about Breece Hall because Braylon Allen is really good. 6'1", 235, runs like a deer, run you over, catch passes. He's a really good prospect. I saw highlights of him at Wisconsin before he came into the league and was very impressed. But, I still think Breece Hall is going to get his 20 touches a game. We've seen that each of the last 2 weeks. I just think Braylon Allen probably limits Breece from being RB1. Now he's you can argue with me, he's RB2 through 5. I still have him at RB2. I still think Breece Hall is the focal point of this offense, not a focal point. He's the focal point, and he will have games where he goes off. But if he goes down, I have Braylon Allen as probably one of the best handcuffs in the league. And then I think I have the guy who's the other best handcuff in the league in Zach Charbonnet. I've really enjoyed this Kenneth Walker being hurt the last 2 weeks. So, and then looking at my flex spot, I've got Zach Moss in there right now. He's pretty solid. I mean, he is dominating the touches. He's dominating the goal line work. And he was in the 2-minute drill on Monday night, which was actually surprising to me because you think of Chase Brown as the pass-catching back. But really, I don't think that's what it is. I think Zach Moss is the starter, and Chase Brown is a change of pace. He's not it's not a 50-50. I'd call it like a 65-35. And then looking at the bench, we had a Rome Odunze breakout. This past week. I liked it. I liked that a lot. I think Rome Odunze is a special talent. I hope the Bears can figure it out. Now, here's my Caleb Williams spiel, because Caleb Williams is my quarterback. I don't think the Bears coaching staff knows how to put him in good positions. Their offense is very complicated. I think they would benefit from making it a little bit more simple. Go more under center instead of shotgun. Go 2 wide receivers, 2 tight ends, run the football and play action. Like, make it easy on the guy. You know, you don't have to spread it out. Like, a spread offense is more difficult for a quarterback because you're just telling them, okay, we're going to put everybody out there. You diagnose the defense. You find the open guy. And for a rookie like Caleb Williams, he does not look comfortable, right? And to be honest with you, I don't always put that on the player. Like, think about Sam Darnold. As a Jet and a Carolina Panther, he looked uncomfortable. He would try to scramble way too early. He would not stay in there and take the hit to get the ball downfield because there was no one to get the ball downfield to. So as a coach, as a play caller, and having a rookie quarterback, I think it's important to make your quarterback comfortable. And you do that with play action, RPO, and schemed looks for guys. Like, run DJ Moore on some jet sweeps. Run him on a jet touch pass. Get Rome Odunze in the screen game. Get DJ Moore in the backfield. I don't care. Find ways to get your... Because DJ Moore would be a better running back than DeAndre Swift. You need to find ways to get your playmakers the ball easily. That takes the pressure off of your quarterback. I think Caleb Williams has so much pressure on him to be Superman right now, to go out there. That's their game plan, I think, is just go make a play, Caleb. And he's a rookie quarterback. He's going to struggle in that system. So, you know, but overall, looking at my team, and then we got Kyle Pitts. You know, same discussion I've had with about every tight end. He's given me 8 points a game, and he's like the tight end 8 right now. So that's crazy. But, you know, you look at my lineup, and this is not a fully healthy lineup, and yet it's still one of the best in the league. So I got myself number 1. Am I immediately cursing myself? Yes. But I had to do it. So just to recap, guys, overall rankings, I got Diego at 12, Eric at 11, Eli at 10, Michael at 9, Neil at 8, Arthur at 7, Brandon at 6, Ray at 5, Isaiah at 4, Liam at 3, Josh at 2, myself at 1. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe. See you guys later.